Dos, tres, cuatro.
Hello, you're very, very welcome to this evening's Student Enterprise Program Live. This is number two webinar, and my name's Greg. I'm your host for the evening. Hopefully you enjoyed the first live broadcast with the brilliant Noel Davidson. It got your entrepreneurial blood flowing, and that you're now well on your way to your entrepreneurial journey for 2020. So tonight, we're going to focus on something that's one of the most important parts of any successful business, and that's coming up with an innovative business idea. So really, really important at your mini company stage. What we want to do is to come up with a business idea that's innovative, that's different, not the same old stuff, and quite frankly, a business idea that's going to make us loads of money. Isn't that right? Definitely. Just before we kick into this evening's session, a couple of things for the teachers. Any teachers out there? Hi, teachers. Hope you're well. Just a couple of things to remind you of. The first thing is the Enterprise Toolkit. So the Student Enterprise Toolkit. It can be accessed from the studententerprise.ie website. Click on resources and you'll see teachers resources. There's PowerPoint presentations, lots of cool, interesting things that you can do with your students in that toolkit. So don't be afraid to use it. On the website, there's also an explanatory video explaining exactly what the Student Enterprise Program for 2020/2021 is. So a really good resource for you, and maybe one to showcase or show to some of your students as well, if you haven't already done so. I'm also told that there are, what are they? There are some booklets, hard copy booklets, literally winging their way to all the registered schools in the post as we speak. So look out for them. So there you go. So have you checked out the Student Enterprise Toolkit? Yes, teachers. Here's another question for you. Have you been in contact yet with your local Student Enterprise Program coordinator? Hands up. Have you? If you haven't, and you're not quite sure who your Student Enterprise Program coordinator is, visit our website, click on the live chat button, and literally send us a message. And what we'll do is we will hook you up with your region Student Enterprise Program coordinator. So that's that. And then last but not least, competitions. Oh yes, over the last two weeks in social media, we've had two very cool competitions running, one for students and one for teachers. And we're going to announce the winners of the competitions, as well as give you a sneak peek into what the next competition is going to be at the end of the show. So teachers, that's a 10-inch tablet for your school. And any students out there, to remember the competition that you applied for? Well, that was to win a Fitbit. So all will be revealed at the end of today's show. Just a quick reminder, comments. If you have any questions for any of our brilliant guests this evening, you can post them in the comment section on YouTube or the comment section on Facebook. And on the unlikely event that you're watching this in repeat, number one, shame on you, but say you had a question. Or you think of a question after this evening. Again, go to studententerprise.ie, use the live chat bar, and ask us any questions that you have. But for tonight, use the comments bar. So that's the end of the housekeeping, if you like. So let's get on to tonight's show. So tonight we're talking about how to come up with your business idea. As previously mentioned, this is one of the most important parts of the process. And contrary to what some students think, it's not about sitting around with a blank sheet of paper with your mates scribbling down an idea. It's far more complex than that. And thank God it's not only me tonight. I have literally not one, not two, not three, but four amazing guests that are going to share their business innovation ideas with you, so we can find out how we can come up with the next, I don't know, the next Airbnb, maybe the next Microsoft, the next Fortnite. Who knows? So let's meet tonight's guest. So our first guest that we're going to have tonight, and we'll just have a quick hello to her, is the amazing Margaret. This is Margaret Hoctor. She's from the Entrepreneurs Academy, just like Noel was in our first webinar. And she is our innovation expert. That's what I'm going to call you tonight, Margaret.
Okay, good.
No pressure.
No pressure.
There's no pressure. So a big welcome to you. We look forward to chatting.
Thank you so much. Yes, see you in a few minutes.
So that's Margaret. We also have someone who you're going to recognize from the last session, aren't you? We have back, because she was so brilliant last time, we have the amazing Caroline McHale, enterprise education consultant, all the way from Mayo at the moment. So hello, Mayo.
Okay, hi everyone.
Caroline, why is idea generation so important when it comes to a successful business? So why is this piece of the entrepreneurial journey so important?
Because it's the idea generation aspect of it that will make the difference. It's getting that unique product or unique service or adding something different onto it that makes it so special.
Okay, so and let's park that. Lots of cool stuff, including mind maps coming from you in a little bit. You're very welcome, Caroline. It's lovely to see you. And well, I would say last but not least, but he's second last, is the brilliant Luke. Hello, Luke.
Hi, how are you, Greg? How are you getting on? You well?
Great. Yeah, it was 2016, if my memory serves me correctly. You were the winner, the national winner at the Student Enterprise Program. So you're welcome today, Luke, and we look forward to mining you for amazing information, tips and tricks on how you came up with such a simple but brilliant idea that became the winner in 2016. So thanks for being with us today, Luke.
Thanks very much, Greg.
And then we have our final guest. Oh, drum roll for our final guest. Now, our final guest, unfortunately, she couldn't be here this evening, but we recorded a chat with her, and that person's name is Serena Bryans. She's the Student Enterprise Program Coordinator for Fingal and for Meath. Here she is.
Hi, Greg. How are you?
Good. There we are. I promise you that was live.
Hi, Greg. How are you?
Good. There we are. There's Serena. She's very.
Hi, Greg. How are you?
Good. There we go. So just so Serena is not left out, Serena's tonight. So that's our fantastic green room. So over the years, we have had some amazing winners. Do you remember Sofa Top? Anyone remember Sofa Top? Sofa Top was a flexible tray, enabled me to have my scalding hot cup of coffee near my couch without spilling it. We had Handy Hose Holder. I remember them. They were a magnetic hose holder aimed at, quite frankly, solving a problem that dairy farmers had every single day, which was dropping their hose. Smooth Remove. Does anyone remember Smooth Remove? It was a wooden device that helped me take off my footwear effortlessly if I had bad back pain, which I do, chronic back pain. And then Scott Engine Tables. Do you remember them? They turned old engines into coffee tables. And who remembers Rock Protection? Do you remember Rock Protection? They were a sports base layer that reduced the impact of oncoming slithers and hurls. Sounds scary, doesn't it? But we remember Rock Protection. So we've had some amazing winners, including Luke. Luke being a winner over the years. And the one thing they've all had in common is innovation. Something new, something different, and something unique. That made their product and service stand out from all other products and services. So that's what we need to do this year for our competition. So let's bring on the queen of innovation. Jeez, I'm calling her the queen of innovation now, Margaret. And let's do this right. Let's get a bit of music going before we bring Margaret on. Oops, sorry. Yeah, the music gets me every time. So you're very, very welcome to the show, Margaret.
Thank you so much, Greg.
Got to do things right. Got to get the intro right for you. So you, Margaret, you work with an amazing company called the Entrepreneurs Academy, and so did Noel, who was our host last week. Maybe you could start by telling us about the work you do with the Entrepreneurs Academy, working specifically with businesses on idea generation.
Yes, Greg, I've been with the Entrepreneurs Academy. Well, first of all, hi, everybody. Welcome to the crazy world of entrepreneurship. Woo! I worked with the Entrepreneurs Academy for about 2.5 years, and my background would have been that I was in corporate. I was in the corporate world, and I had lots of experience in market research. But I was made redundant in 2013, and as part of my brainstorming, I found myself at a certain age kind of going, do I really want to be starting again? Do I have the energy to start again? Now, you're much younger than me, so this is not going to be a problem for you, okay? But I had to look at what could I do with my life now? And I had managed lots of people, so I love people. But I came home to the farm, and I helped build the farm with my husband. But I am a trainer with the Entrepreneurs Academy as part of that development of who else I could be in my new world. So now I train. Everything that I learn, I pass on. So for instance, I'll give you an example. Recently, we had 3 acres of corn, sweet corn, that we grew. We're farmers in Wicklow, and we lost it in Storm Ellen and Francis. And so I teach that. I teach what that failure feels like and how to recover from that. So everything I learn is in real time. And so I'm delighted to be here tonight to look at ideas. We're not going to discuss failure. We're going to discuss ideas and how to get them off the ground and how to come up with as many things as possible.
Cool. You sent me on a slide, a very cool slide. Maybe you want to talk me through it. This particular slide here.
Yes, so this is our farm in Wicklow. But when back in 2013, when that happened to me, we literally took out an A4 pad, nothing fancy, no big spreadsheets, and we wrote down exactly who were we, what else could we do with the farm, and we asked lots of questions. So I want you to think about that tonight, and or for those of you watching this repeat in the morning or the afternoon, think about, what else could you do with the skills you have? What makes you forget to have your lunch because you're so excited thinking about it? What do you doodle on a copybook when you're meant to be listening to Mrs. Ryan in history and you start scribbling? What are you drawing? What's going on in that brain of yours? Now, by the way, before all the teachers give out to me, I'm not condoning that behavior. I'm just saying that somewhere we dream, somewhere we allow ourselves that little bit of imagination and creativity. What are you thinking about? If I said to you, what are you best at? What are you best at? And so we did this with the farm. We took out the canvas. We said, look, we've apples in the orchard. Why don't we make apple juice? We've got a few ponies here. Why don't we develop a horse livery business? And we turned all our sheds into stables. And then my husband is a wonderful sheep farmer. And we looked at all the lamb and we said, well, why is all that going to a factory? Why can't we sell this directly to our customers? And we sell all of it directly now through farmers markets and through online and through farm collection. And then the sweet corn came as an idea when somebody said, look, you live in Wicklow and why don't you think about sweet corn? And we said, there's no way sweet corn will grow. But we did our SWOT analysis. And I know Serena talks about that later. What is the strength of that? What is the weakness of that? What is the opportunity? And what is the threat of that? And so we've done that successfully for 4 years now. Well, 3 years successfully. And 1 year, we've had a really tough year this year because of Francis and Ellen got into the fields and had a bit of a fight with the corn. And then, so that was really devastating. And then the little cameras you see there is filming. So as part of our brainstorming of, come on, what else could we do? What else could we do? And I want you to think about this now when you're listening to me going, and you might be sitting there going, but I don't have a farm. What is she talking about? I'm thinking, just think about the process I use that we've used in order to build our farm. So we knew that the Vikings were being made in Wicklow. And we said, why don't we try and get a film set here or a film scene here? And, they could use the hill and run down the hill, and there could be battle scenes over there. My imagination really went crazy there. But listen to me, we sent that email on a Saturday night. How soon do you think we heard back? How soon do you think we heard back? Monday morning. And all we did was send the email. Now, we didn't actually get the Vikings, but we got TV commercials. In fact, we have one tomorrow morning, which I can't discuss who it's for, but it's something to do with Christmas. But that's the idea part. So, and then the sunflower came this year because of COVID. I said, we're going to plant sunflowers and sell them because everyone is going to need to smile by August or September. And that's the type of ideas. So we keep creating ideas. So that's why I'm here tonight and delighted to share those ideas with you.
Brilliant. I love that. So you've reinvented your farm because you've had to.
Yes.
Which is absolutely brilliant. And sometimes it's not the first idea that we get. We've got to keep pushing ourselves for fresh ideas. What I'd be really interested to find out, Margaret, is are there any particular idea generation techniques that you find work particularly well? And could you explain how maybe they could work? So say, what techniques could teachers and students use to come up with some of these ideas?
Okay, well, one of my favorite ones, and actually, Greg, do you have a piece of paper there? Have you got a piece of paper?
No, put me to
yes,
work.
Yes, you have to work. Yeah. One of my favorite ones that I start the evening with normally is a circle, a simple circle with your initials in the middle. So Greg, put in. Greg is behaving now. He's just taking his time here and he's delaying.
I've got a circle, yeah.
Very good. Are you drawing a circle?
I've drawn a circle.
Okay. Excuse me. So put GF in the center. Have you put GF in the center,
yeah,
Greg Fry?
Yeah.
Okay. So I want you to draw arrows out of that circle, please.
Okay.
And I want
you just explain whether this is right. I'll show it to you now. Is this okay?
Ooh, very nice. Okay. And I want you to think of all the talents and skills and abilities you have. So, first of all, you can say what you do now. So what is your role now? So if, as a student, you'd write down, I'm a student in blah school.
Yeah.
Okay. But who else are you? Like I play guitar. I am great at hurling. I am in charge of my class. I am on the debating team. I am a lovely rugby player. What are all your skills and abilities and talents? And looking at all of those, is there any way now you could monetize any of those? That's the first place I start with. I start with the person.
Okay.
Because when the person is settled, when you know how wonderful you are and how talented and how unique you are, then you can start being a little bit more creative because you've got the base. Because like the song says, it's all about the base, Yes, well, I'm not a singer. But that's really important, is to get the core around you and say, well, actually, people say I'm a wonderful singer. So the questions you ask yourself when you're doing this exercise is, what do people say about me? When they say, you are so talented at this, you have no idea how good you are at this. That's the type of questioning. So what is that? And don't be shy when you're doing this exercise. And teachers, I need you to give the students a little bit of time with this because they won't be used to praising themselves. Okay. And maybe during lockdown, they haven't had time to think about what they're really brilliant at. But come on, it's time to shine. Okay. And that's your base.
Here's the kind of stuff I have now. It's quite
embarrassing.
Let me
see.
Quite embarrassing.
Let's see how amazing you are. You're a trainer. Very good. You're very funny. Okay, well, we have to find that one out. We have to find
the funny one's debatable. I think I'm very funny.
You are very funny. You're wonderful at listening.
Sometimes.
Entertainment, you love doing entertainment. Well, I can see that. I'm sure you're very supportive, loving friend. See, these are all beautiful skills and abilities and talents and gifts that you have. And look how Greg has turned this into a business for himself. So he's using all those gifts and talents and said, right, this is what I want to be, an entertainer. I want to be, behind the mic. I can perform. He's a performer. And so this is the question to ask yourselves. Who else am I? What else could I be? What natural skills and abilities? Like there was no point in me setting up an accountancy firm. I don't like maths. I'll tell you a secret and don't tell anybody. I got D in past maths in my leaving cert. Shh. But look at me. Ooh, I'm okay. It's okay. I'm okay. We're talented in other ways. We have other skills.
She's not an accountant, folks, but she's alive. She's well. She's survived. She's
and successful.
And very successful. There you go. Very successful, Mark.
So that's the first exercise, Greg, that we love to. Okay. I love to do.
I love that exercise. So simple. Yeah. We can all do that in school in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any other exercises that you particularly like that you want to reference, or are there any websites or resources that you'd recommend for idea generation?
Well, I think trendhunter.com is very good.
Okay, what's trendhunter.com?
It has lots of trends. What's happening? What's happening in the world? I think there's a wonderful one in Forbes. Forbes.com has what the world will look like post-COVID. So you could actually Google. It's so simple. If you just Google, like we had to Google what corn grew in Ireland. So if you Google trends post-COVID, what are the trends coming into this country? Then you can see, for instance, there's a lot of interest in sustainability. There's a lot of interest in beautiful clothing and recycling clothing. Can you have an idea? Is there something you can do? Is there a mask you can design? Can you upcycle, recycle? Can you innovate, renovate? Like, it doesn't have to be a brand new idea, but you could innovate, you could renovate something. And also it's something that could be missing. Like, for instance, if you think of the person who designed, let's say, the stapler, like that person obviously wanted to tie pages together and he was missing and they designed it. And that's the type of gap. Can you see a gap in the market for something that's out there that you could design right now? That's what you're thinking. What is the gap? And so when we designed our farm business, we said, well, no one's growing corn. Now, we didn't realize nobody was crazy enough to grow corn in Ireland, but we grew it and we've been successful for 3 out of the 4. But there was a gap in the market. Nobody's growing it and everybody loves it. Vegans, vegetarians, it's gluten-free. It's beautiful for children. So that's what you're questioning. What gap can I fill? What are the trends? Look at sustainability. Look at the environment. What's missing in my house that if I could hang up, if I only had that and I could hang it up? Is there something you could make right now in the next few months? Because we need to be getting on with the idea, because you should be probably there with your idea mid-October. Miss Bryans, Serena will tell you that later. But it's yeah.
She has a whip out a little bit later telling you we need to do this now.
Okay.
But there's a very, very good point that you made. So one of the key challenges that students are going to have is coming up with a really innovative, cool idea that's practical and that I can produce in a short period of time and bring to market. So being realistic, I mean, the deadline is September, it's gone now, to May. That's the competition. So any advice? Because the last thing we want to do is to come up with an idea and then realize in November, oh no, that idea is no good because there's no way I can bring it to market. Any advice for students, I suppose, matching practicality with innovation?
Yes. I would say, first of all, if you're working in groups of 3 or 4, you need to meet really quickly. Okay. And you need to pool all the ideas and have one meeting now really shortly, because what will be October 5th. So by mid-October, you probably need to have this cemented. So I would recommend meeting this week and saying, okay, what are the ideas? And really put away 2 hours to meet, maybe this Friday afternoon if you can. And then delegate the skills, because like, for instance, I'm very good at marketing, sales, chatting, idea generation. My husband is a really amazing farmer. He's brilliant at what he does. And we separate those tasks. So make sure in your group that maybe there's one of you brilliant at maths that will get all the analysis right and all the maths part right. And that there's one of you really good at sales and marketing. And there's another one of you brilliant at organizing all of you. And just bring those different skills and make sure you delegate tasks so you don't cross over, so that you can get the show on the road and get moving quickly with that one idea. So you'll need to probably do a SWOT analysis of that idea and see, is it going to work? If you've got 4 ideas, say, okay, what is really realistic by May? What is really realistic? Can we start selling this at the Christmas fair? Even if it's, so that's, but it's really important. And then if you're working solo, because I've met some solo entrepreneurs like Luke later on worked on his own, then again, organizing your day and planning your day is going to be very important.
Super advice. Now, the last question I have for you, and I don't want to leave on a negative, so we'll turn this question into a positive.
Okay.
Model, I promise. But things to look out for. So what are the main mistakes that you think entrepreneurs make at this phase of business development, the ideas phase? Where do people go wrong?
I think actually one of them, would you believe, is confidence. That you might think, gosh, what am I thinking? I can't do that. Who am I to think of I could do that? So we can have this little witch in our head and she goes, oh, but maybe you're not good enough. And so you have to watch that witch that speaks to you in your head, and you have to say to yourself, this is why it's really important as part of this exercise this week. And I'm sounding like one of your teachers now, but I really believe you need to write down all your skills and abilities this week. Have your own personal journey and remember all that you've achieved to date. That you were on the camogie team, that you won the debate, that you this, so that your confidence, because you can say to yourself, well, actually, you know what, if I can do that, I can do this. So that could be one mistake. The other mistake is that you think it has to be amazing. This idea has to be amazing, when actually all you have to do is look in front of you and see it could be it could be a skill or an ability. It could be you could be offering a service or a product, and it might be just under your nose. You might play the cello beautifully, and it might be that you want to organize cello lessons, or you want to, there's something you might want to really focus on that you're naturally good at. And so don't miss that. Don't forget that. So you don't have to get too convoluted here. It's fine to have fun, but we need to narrow it down now and see what is going to, can you monetize it as well? So, and it's the time limit you've got. The other thing I'd say to you is, if you're thinking of getting something in from overseas, in Luke's time, I remember him well, and he'll talk about this later. He had to research in China. He had to get prototypes made. Getting goods delivered right now is a lot slower. So try and keep this simple if you can, because the more you rely on post, I'm still waiting for books that I ordered, that there are delays at the moment. So just from a practical point of view.
Brilliant advice, and all positive advice. So brilliant advice. So believe in yourself. Yes. You can. Play to your strengths. Make sure the idea focuses around the stuff that you're good at and you love. Far greater chance of success. And be careful if you're ordering stuff from abroad and you need it as part of your business with the delays going on. God forbid, getting something in from China could take quite some time now. So now is the time to act. All I've got left to say is, Margaret, thank you so much for your wonderful words of wisdom this evening.
If I may say one more thing, because this is do you mind? This is so important. This is so important.
Okay, go on. Yeah.
No. This is the thing that really shocked me when I started to work for myself, and I want you all to listen to this. That I never realized how disciplined I would have to be, because I thought, working for myself, I'm free. I can float around the farm and I can pick apples when I want to. But actually, you have to create that urgency, and there is a discipline needed in your day that you will never. I can't tell you how disciplined and organized you're going to need to be. It's a trait of an entrepreneur, and it's not an easy trait for us, because we can be so creative that we just want everything else to fly by. So until we're actual millionaires, we sometimes have to do all of these things ourselves. So I'm just saying to you, don't neglect the discipline of being organized, communicating with each other. If you've got a WhatsApp group with your group, make sure that you do message each other. If there's some gnawing or there's some tension in the group, take it offline. Don't do the WhatsApp, thing. Meet properly. This is an amazing journey you're on, and this might be the start of some amazing future for you. And I wish you all the best. Have lots of fun. You'll never forget this experience.
I muted my mic there. Rookie mistake, I know. So just in case you thought it was the internet, no, it was me. A big rookie mistake there. Wonderful words of wisdom, Margaret. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Lovely to meet you all.
Yeah, take care. So next up, we're going to chat to Caroline McHale. And just so she doesn't get jealous, we did music for Margaret, so we do music for Caroline. Yeah, the music gets me every time. It really does. A big hello, Caroline McHale. Caroline, as you would have known from the last time, former business studies teacher, loads of experience working with the Student Enterprise Programme, even worked with the Department of Education, and written a number of books. So your business studies book may have Caroline's name on it. So Caroline, you're very, very welcome to the show.
Thank you, Greg.
Idea generation. So you were listening to me and Margaret talking about idea generation tips and exercises, thinking from a teacher's perspective now. So let's think about what the teachers can do in their classroom. What would your top exercises for idea generation, as well as advice for teachers on how to manage the process with groups in the classroom be?
Okay, Greg, well, I think you said something very interesting there, because as a teacher, when you go into the classroom and you're doing idea generation, it's the time you can have such great fun. And you're teaching a whole group. You're teaching ones who may be interested, who may have good ideas, who may not. It could be a first-year group you're working with, or it could be a transition-year group. And if it's a first-year group that you're working with, you'll probably have to start with the basics. You might decide to come in with a prop, show them a prop and say, look, I wonder what we could do with this. It might be, I wonder, could we come up with the ideal toothbrush, or the ideal hurley holder for my bike when I'm cycling into school. Or it could be something as basic as bringing in just a paper clip. We've all heard it before, become very familiar. Could I make miniature little things out of this, etc.? But there are three things I think that work really, really well after you have the fun and the class and they're all coming up with all the different things, is problem solving, mind maps, and Scamper.
Okay.
And I suppose with the mind maps, I'm huge into the mind maps. And I think, you know, we can talk about doing things online, etc. But getting your sketch pad, getting your piece of paper, starting with an idea, and our brain works on connections. So once you mention one idea, you can then go on to all the other ideas. So if you just move down the slides, Greg, there, I was just kind of
course, yeah.
We talked about, there could be things like, so they were just where you get your ideas from. But I have a mind map. Anyone that knows me, I love using Post-its. I think Post-its are a great way because in actual fact, with the Post-its, you can move them around, you can join them up again because it's kind of actually a messy thing as such. So I actually have, that's my map there with the Post-its. But if you go to the next one, Greg, I actually have one that I did earlier on. While I was waiting, I had a piece of paper and I started with a slate. And I was saying, I wonder what could you do with the slate? Well, you could actually start on the left-hand side there with clocks. There could be round clocks. There could be a clock in the shape of an art palette. There could be one with beautiful different designs. You could have a signs maybe, and then you'd go into how many signs could I do? It could be numbers for houses. I could personalize them. I could paint them. It could be a welcome note, etc. Or perhaps I could do mirrors. They could be square. They could be round. They could be Gothic shape. I could buy 1, 2, making 3 of those. And perhaps I could end up with a beautiful scenery that I like and actually make a mirror. And I'm going to show you here today. I actually have a mirror made from Saddle Hill and McHale, actually made from.
Well, let's get your.
So you can actually see the.
There you go. So there's your mirror. Yeah. Wow.
So there's your mirror. So you can do all kinds of things from starting with a basic slate. So if you're the teacher in the classroom with the mind map, you start with a resource or start with an idea or bring in a product. And from that, you can get millions and millions of ideas because the brain keeps working on connections. And what can I do differently? What will make it that different? What will personalize it? Can I sell it to tourists? Can I make it nostalgic? Can it be from my granny's house? Can it be all those kind of things that can make something different? And then when you're working with the groups in the classroom, you can say, okay, you choose what you're going to do the mind map on this group. You might want to do it on apps. You might want to do it on guitar lessons. Somebody else will say, well, maybe I would take something to do with animals, or I might do something with food, of an interest in home economics, or somebody else might say in the science, etc. there. So I think that's it's a fun way, but it's actually a really, really good way of getting things going. And when the students go, they can revisit, they can work on it, they can change it, they can add it. And what I'd say to teachers and students, always be observing. Is there something out there that I'm not sure about, that we could solve a problem, that we could actually make a product or provide a service from this? The junior ones really love it, but I think it works right through to senior level. A more challenging,
super exercise. So it's a great exercise to do in the classroom tomorrow with each group. Absolutely super exercise.
Okay. And then I suppose we talked about problem solving. Is there a problem out there and can you come up with a solution? So you might decide, look, I want to provide music lessons. I won't be printing a book because maybe of COVID-19. I might decide I might do YouTube clips. I might do it in relation to link it to the junior cycle or the Leaving Cert or whatever it can be. And then finally, I'm going on to the more challenging one on the next slide, Greg, which is Scamper. And I think Scamper is a very powerful tool. So you start with the S, like, can I substitute something in a product? Can I replace it? Can I make it simpler? You might decide, could I bring 2 products together? Could I actually combine 2 technologies? Something that would actually make it different. Could I adapt something that's out there? Maybe perhaps improve it. Could I modify, maybe make it in different shapes, different sizes? Could I put it to another use? Like you see people making out of plastic bottles, making beautiful Christmas decorations or light fitting, etc. Could I eliminate it? So with that music book I talked about, instead of printing, could I have online notes? Could I have online clips, etc.? And could I reverse it? could I do something to prevent, to work backwards, like be healthy, be well-being, etc., before the problem actually occurs? So if students, that's really, I think, a higher order one. And once you have decided on your idea, go to Scamper and see what else can you do. And then from that, so you have loads of ideas. I think coming up with ideas is actually not a problem for students, because once they start, they are so creative and they keep coming up with more and more ideas. But then what you have to do is you actually have to evaluate it. Like, there's no point in having a toothbrush that will sing to you in the morning and tell you how good it is, etc., if it's going to cost 50 or 60 euro to make, because people will only keep their toothbrush for maybe 6 months and dispose of it, and they're not going to spend that amount of money on it. So the evaluation process is actually really, really important. So what I'd say to students is, take your time getting the idea right. Don't be rushing into it. You're not going to get an idea after 1 class or 2 classes or 3 classes. And I often found that some of the best ideas came later, where they started with something and they decided, oh, we sell this to make a bit of money, but I really want to work on that idea. And Luke, that's going coming in next, he'll actually tell you about that as well, which I thought was really, really good. So spend time on getting that idea right.
Brilliant. Dervila Casey, thank you for the lovely words there. That's brilliant. I love that Scamper idea. It's absolutely brilliant.
Yes.
Really good idea. Anything left on your? Is there any? That was a lot. That's the famous last word to wisdom. Another question that I have for you is, what are the biggest obstacles that you think teachers face when working with students on their idea generation?
Well, I suppose it's because you'll have some people not interested in that stage. Others might feel, oh, maybe I won't make it as an entrepreneur. Maybe this is not for me. So it's trying to get that motivation. And you'll often find sometimes that students said, I would have no interest in actually being an entrepreneur, that actually end up being entrepreneurs and being enterprising. And remember, as we talked about last week, that the enterprising is just not just about being in a business, it's also about social entrepreneurship and being a good citizen and being sustainable and all these different things that come with it.
Fantastic. Okay, great words of wisdom. Now, what I mentioned before, and it's something you're very big on, is the enterprise toolkit. So the enterprise toolkit. So what exactly is in the enterprise toolkit for teachers?
Well, what we have for teachers, we have a junior one and we have a senior cycle one. And I just think they're both actually quite similar, but they differ in that they link to the curriculum. The junior one links to the junior cycle. But there's an eclectic mix of resources. We have a teacher booklet, which you can follow, and we've broken it up into 10 units to make it very achievable. We have a student logbook, which helps students to document their learning and learn from their experiences. We have PowerPoints, we have templates, we have videos, and even the live chat will be used as well in the classroom. You can ask questions on the website. Really go to the website, www.studententerprise.ie. And in the morning, they'll answer any questions you have, maybe in the class, what should I do here or there? We have a live chat. And those live broadcasts as well, I think, will be a great resource in the classroom for teachers. So it's all about how we can support them. And actually, because of the demand for them, we're actually going to print them. So they're going to print. So it'll be great. Teachers wanted a printed version. So I think they will find that useful as well. But we have everything is virtual, everything is online, so that you can download either the students, teachers, whoever.
Brilliant. And the link is just down below there for teachers there. But it's an absolute no-brainer. There's so much there for you. The last question, I'm conscious of time, but the last question I have for you is thinking of Luke. Poor old Luke is still awake down there. I see him. You know, when it comes to working on your own, so say I'm a teacher and it's fine for the groups working away on their ideas, what kind of advice or tips would you give for teachers to help students that are working on their idea by themselves?
Well, we've often found that sometimes students who've worked by themselves have been extremely successful because they can put everything into it. And what I would say to a student is look for advice from everybody. Look for advice from the school coordinator that comes in, from your teachers. And I know Luke had great business teachers, great business department down there. And is wherever you can get help, get it. And that's what I'd always say to all students. Or maybe you profiled an entrepreneur that we mentioned 2 weeks ago. So maybe contact that entrepreneur and say, what do you think of this idea? How can you help me on that? Look for help. Parents, friends, family, the more help, the more you advice you can actually get, the better. Go online, do your searches that Margaret was talking about earlier on. There's so much out there. So don't be afraid to ask.
Brilliant. And Luke, if you're there, how did you find working on your own, coming up with ideas?
I suppose, Greg, one of the hardest things you have to watch, and I think Margaret mentioned it earlier on, was putting almost too much effort and too much of your time into it and not having yourself managed throughout the day. So if you do manage yourself and kind of make a checklist and make sure that you're ticking everything that's on the box, but doing it and allocating time to that, that's the correct amount of time, not spending too much time dwelling on other things. Whereas I suppose like if you're in a group, you do have those extra members who can kind of put the work in different areas that maybe you're not strong at. So if you are on your own, you kind of have to watch what you're doing and make sure that you're putting your time in correctly. So that's probably one of the hardest things that I think on your own that you have to deal with, I guess. Yeah.
Superb. Well, we're going to grab you for chatting a little bit. I'm going to mine you for lots of information. So thanks for that, Luke. That's brilliant. Caroline, all what's left for me to say is thank you so much for your wonderful words of wisdom. You're becoming the main correspondent every week or every 2 weeks or 3 weeks when it comes to our session. So thanks so much again for the words of wisdom. I really look forward to working away with mind maps and all sorts of stuff myself. So thank you so much. Brilliant. So now what I'm going to do is I was going to bring in, who was I going to bring in?
Hi, Greg. How are you?
Good. I was going to bring in Serena. But actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw that idea out the window for the minute. I'm actually going to go to Luke. Because Luke, he does look like he may fall asleep if I don't bring him in soon. So let's go over to Luke. So let me bring Luke back in. Luke, wasn't it very rude you didn't get the music? You didn't get the music intro.
I'm sure I'll be okay, Greg. You don't have to worry.
So there you go. Now no one feels bad.
Exactly.
So 2016 Headphone Helpers was a category winner. What I'm really interested in is probably 2015. How did you find the brainstorming experience? And was Headphone Helpers your first idea, or did you go through other ideas to get to it?
I suppose, to answer the second question first, I suppose it was one of my first ideas that I kind of came up with. How I came up about it was solving a problem. The two other guests before mentioned that solving problems is one of the best ways to kind of find your idea for idea generation. For me, I run a lot just to kind of clear the head and stuff between studying when I was doing that for like the junior cert and the likes. And I found that every time I was running, for those of you who don't know, the product basically was earphones that go into your ear. And I had a silicone band I had it made in China that goes around the neck of the user, has two loops on the end, and your earphones slip up and into your ears. So when they fall, they only fall to a certain height, so they don't fall on the ground and get tangled around your legs. But essentially, I came up with that idea. There you go, it's there in front of you now. Essentially, I came up with that idea because I run so often when I was doing the exams and that kind of stuff. And I found that was one of the main complaints I kind of had for earphones. And at the time, the AirPods and the likes weren't really in fashion. They weren't being produced, that kind of stuff at the time. So earphones were all you really had. So I found that I kind of had an idea to solve a problem, and I kind of went along with that, if that makes sense.
Oh, it certainly does. Seems like a brilliant idea. So it was one of your first ideas. That's interesting. What would you say? What are your most important lessons you learned from doing the idea generation? And was there anything you would have done differently when you think back to that phase?
First of all, I'd say don't be afraid to go on your own. It's very easy to fall into a group and just go with the herd. If you're through friends as well, you could just think, oh, I'll just be with them, it's grand. Don't be afraid to go out on your own. There's no hassle with it. It's a bit more work, but it's well worth it in the end, because at the end of the day, it's you who's making all the decisions. And there's nothing wrong with being in a group, and kind of, there's plenty of friends who are in the program and stuff that I've made from Student Enterprise Awards who were in groups and did very well with the products and are still doing well today. But I suppose the main thing I picked up from it was the first thing you come up with might not necessarily be the idea that you're going to run with. I know myself, I kind of had a little checkbook that if I saw something when I was out and about, especially around the time where we had to do idea generation, I kind of jotted it down and started to think, oh, maybe I could do something around that. So like the first idea that you do come up with, it's not necessarily going to be the one that you run with and make a product out of. So don't be afraid to come up with plenty of ideas and test them out, like make prototypes and that kind of stuff. Like I know I myself made a prototype out of cloth for the first time. The actual thing's made out of silicone, but originally I made it with cloth just to see if it was feasible and that kind of stuff. So most definitely don't be afraid to come up with multiple ideas and kind of test them out. Just don't think the first one you pick might necessarily be the one that you're going to go with. So that'll be the main thing, I think.
Okay, super. Now you worked on your own, which was great. What advice would you give to students that decide to go for it alone as regards working as a group? You said it was worth it. It's a little bit more work, but I suppose it could be a bit daunting. So you were very brave. What advice would you give?
I suppose, as I said there earlier on, time management is the biggest thing. I know my business teacher, Rory Farrell, he had an office and I used to live in the office in TY, kind of working on this project. And I probably spent a lot of my time in terms of TY, but it was well worth it at the end of the day. But watching that you're not spending too much time on certain tasks and getting, like I suppose lead generation is one that you can put a lot of time into, because at the end of the day, the idea is the core of the product. And if the idea is not there, then the product's not going to take off. So time management and watching that you're putting the correct amount of time into certain tasks is the main thing, I suppose.
Okay, super. And I'd say what we all really want to know is where are you now with Headphone Helpers? This was 2016. Have you diversified into new business ideas? Are you studying? What are you up to right now? What are the plans?
Leaving Cert kind of took over from Headphone Helpers. I ran with it through fifth year as well, so it was TY and fifth year kind of thing. And then Leaving Cert took over, and obviously that was done and dusted. I'm now studying commerce, so business again in UCD, which is great. I'm loving it. I'm in my third year now at this stage, and I'm on internship this year. Martin O'Reilly, who was on last week from Output Sports, I'm actually doing an internship with those guys at the moment. I'm in with Nova UCD, who are they're like a kind of a student enterprise, but for adults. It kind of takes in bigger companies, and it's like an accelerator. It gives them an office space and maybe shows them the ropes and that kind of stuff. So I'm working with them at the moment, but I'm interning with Output Sports now for the next 3 months, and then I move on to a different company after that. So yeah.
Exciting. Now, the one thing that people don't realize is the entrepreneur community in Ireland is a close-knit one. So even as you go through this competition and you innovate with a brilliant idea, reaching out to other Irish entrepreneurs, the support network is amazing. So I love the fact that you're going to be working with Martin now. That's really, really cool. Brilliant stuff. So watch this space. Luke will be back to take over the world. Luke, thank you so much for joining us. Very quickly, I just want to add Margaret in, because I think Margaret's going to nip off now, slide away. So a big thank you to Margaret. And we'll throw Caroline in. Why not? The more the merrier. But you guys have all had dealings with Luke. What impressed you with Luke?
Well, I think when I first met Luke, it was the passion that he had for his idea. He was going to put everything into this idea. And when I saw it, it was only just like in a prototype stage. And you just knew that he was going to make it. I really felt that day that I met him, and that was, I think, November, December, that this was really going to be a successful. Not only was it a great idea, but he was extremely passionate about it as well.
I think we can see Luke blushing there if you look closely enough. That's Luke, you're a very, very impressive guy. Margaret, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Caroline, we're going to get you to hold on so you can announce the winner of the competition. Luke, if you're still around to announce the student competition, that would be brilliant too. But there is
May I ask Luke just one question, actually, that may be of interest to the students. How did you find the help in China? How did that gap? Because I remember you had to write several emails. I remember you speaking about that in Coláiste de Craobh.
I suppose at the time, the idea, I kind of came up with the idea in mid-October, and that was grand at the stage where, like, it's kind of the stage where you should be nearly finished with your ideas mid-October. And I progressed it from there. I got, as I said, the prototype made, and I kind of drew up, I'd done tech graphic in school, and I kind of designed my own like line drawings of the product in terms of measurement and what I wanted it from. So I contacted silicone wristbands. That was kind of material that I wanted to be made out of. So I contacted a few companies in China with regards to that, and by a few I mean about 250. I sent a lot of emails to different that I found that kind of online, that kind of stuff. I got in touch with a few of them. I think 2 of them or 3 of them got back to me, and of the 3, I just picked the most suitable. You have to be very careful with China and that kind of stuff, because at the end of the day, they are so far away that you're dealing with someone you've never met before. So you do have to be kind of careful who you put your trust in. But after a couple of emails I called them as well. I felt like this kind of person was the person that I would go with. So I ended up going with that guy, and he ended up producing for me. So yeah.
Right. Very good. Thank you.
Super word of wisdom. Great question, Margaret. Thanks for that. Glad we didn't lose you too early. That was a great question. Thank you so much.
Okay.
We'll see you. We'll see you soon. So now the last piece of the jigsaw is to talk briefly to Serena.
Hi, Greg. How are you?
Good. There she is. So let me pull up the chat that I had with Serena a little bit earlier. Hopefully this will go right, and we'll find out what Serena's words of wisdom are. Really excited tonight to be grabbing a chat with the brilliant Serena Bryans. Now, Serena is the student enterprise coordinator this year for Meath and Dublin Fingal. A big hello, Serena.
Hi, Greg. How are you?
Good. Now, you've been doing lead generation, brainstorming workshops with students for many years through the Student Enterprise Program. And quite frankly, a little birdie tells me that you have a very good track record, actually having winners and finalists on National Finals Day. So can't wait to pick your brains tonight and find out some really good tips and tricks for coming up with brilliant business ideas. So I suppose with that in mind, my first question for you is thinking back to maybe some examples of previous winners that you worked with. When it came to idea generation and brainstorming, what process worked for them?
I think in the beginning, in brainstorming, it's really about casting the net as wide as you can in the beginning. So, there's no such thing as a bad idea. It's always about throwing out as many ideas as you possibly can, because even if it's a crazy idea, that might lead to spark another idea in somebody else, which will spark another idea in somebody else, which eventually end up as a doable idea. Even if the first idea was completely undoable, that serves as a catalyst to bounce around until you get something that actually works. So to not discount anything in the beginning. There's no such thing as a bad idea in brainstorming.
That's a great point. And even most businesses start off as something and turn into something else. So it takes an idea to generate lots of ideas. So that's a brilliant tip. Thinking back to some of the previous winners, talk to me about some of the previous winners that you worked with, and how did they come up with their ideas?
Well, one of the winners that I worked with is actually on here this evening as well, which is Luke Byrne from Headphone Helpers. And Luke, I won't tell you Luke's story, I'll let him tell you that himself. But he wanted to solve a very specific problem, and he was trying to figure out a way to solve that problem. What I remember most about him, and I've said this to Luke before, was when I met him, the first day I met him, he had an idea, and a very clear idea, but he had a prototype that wasn't going to work, and he knew it wasn't going to work. So he had to keep going with how to make his idea actually work. And what struck me on the day was that he was a sole trader. He was absolutely passionate about what he wanted to do. He was very single-minded about it. He knew exactly what he wanted to achieve. He just didn't know how to achieve it at that point. But his enthusiasm and his passion made me realize that he was going to get there, because I think that's really important. When you are brainstorming for an idea, particularly for the student enterprise program, it's really important to do something and go with something that you are enthusiastic about or passionate about. Because if you pick just the first idea that comes to your head or something that you think is the easy idea, it's going to be boring very quickly. You know, if you're not really enthusiastic about what you're doing, you're going to get bored with all the stuff that you have to do along the way. But if you have something that you really believe in, as Luke clearly did from the beginning, well, then it kind of keeps you going through all the months of the various different aspects of market research and financing and all that stuff. So believing in what you want to do and getting behind an idea that you are really enthusiastic about is a number one tip, I think.
Yeah, I love that tip. So yeah, if you're not passionate, how's it going to work? And unfortunately, when you set up a business, there's a lot of boring stuff you have to do. So we want to be passionate about it to sift through the boring stuff that we're going to need to do. I love that tip. So here's another question. Thinking of some of the mistakes that students have made over the years, what are the biggest mistakes that you see students make during the brainstorming sessions?
Right. So the first one would be brainstorming stuff that just isn't going to happen. So they'll come up with all these great ideas and then they might settle on one that they think, oh, that's amazing, let's do that. But it's just they're not going to have either the time or the resources to get it done. And it is important to remember that this is a business competition. It's not an ideas competition. You know, brainstorming is absolutely a part of it, but it is about turning that brainstorming session into something that's going to make money for you. So it's got to be something that is real, that you can achieve, that you can do within the time frame and with the limited resources that we have. I've had some great ideas from students that would be really fantastic if they had €1 million and a couple of factories at their disposal. But, you know, I haven't met any that have. So when you're brainstorming, think about what is actually doable for you. Can you produce this within the time frame and within the amount of, with the resources that you have? I think that's really important. Other mistakes that people make is that they do something which is almost, I'm going back on myself now, but they do something that they are passionate about, but that there's no market for. Yeah. So, you know, if you are a collector of something really out there, you know, in terms of like spiders' legs or something, there's no point in making a whole big business about spiders' legs unless you know a lot of other people who are passionate about the same thing. You've got to have a market for your business. And not only do you have to have a market, you have to be able to reach that market. So there's no point in, you know, coming up with a great idea when you know that you can't ever get to people who are going to be able to buy that idea. So that's another mistake, I think. And the third mistake that people make is in brainstorming, something simple comes to them, something that they believe is simple, that's not going to take a lot of work, and they stick with that. And then they think, oh, well, that's fine, I have that sorted now, and that's going to be so easy. And they just park it and they don't do anything else. And next thing you know, it's October, November, and you haven't moved forward with it. And you need to kind of catch up on yourself. So that's a problem. And then the last thing, which I'm really saying this year, is when you're brainstorming, if you come up with something that requires you to buy in materials from somewhere, make sure that you're giving yourself enough time for your materials to reach you. If you're buying somewhere outside the EU, the lead time for the stuff to get here, even in non-COVID times, can be weeks. So now, especially, make sure that your stuff is going to get to you on time.
There's some brilliant tips. So again, things not to do is make an idea too complicated that's not feasible. I'm never going to be able to execute on because I don't have the time and money and resources to do so. So keep your idea simple. Make sure it's an idea that you can execute well. I know a lot of winners have been things like I may get the name wrong, but the boot buddy. But again, really simple, cool idea for cleaning my boots. Most of the winners have really good, simple ideas.
Yeah.
market, is there a market for your business? So again, creating something that's too niche that people don't want, quite frankly.
Yes.
So another great tip there. And then you talked about, if you're buying goods, make sure that you have, you order your materials in enough time and so on. So some really, really good bits of advice there that you put down. So that's absolutely brilliant. So pause and rewatch that answer. Thinking about coming up with an idea. So I finally do come up with an idea. What you said before is you don't want to park that idea. I think if you park that idea and wait till November, December, you obviously weren't passionate enough about that idea.
Yeah.
So there's the final piece. But when I come up with my idea, when should I settle on it? So it's important here. This is, as you say, a business competition. I've got to turn my idea into a business. So what time should I have settled on my business idea to give myself enough time to actually develop the business and essentially showcase that business in full glory for the competition?
Sure. So when I'm working with students, I ask them to produce a prototype by the end of October. So one of whatever it is they want to do or create, or if it's a service, because we keep talking about products today, and services are absolutely just as valid. If it's a service, I ask them to have a really good plan in place by the end of October. And the reason I want a prototype is to go back on what I said earlier, so that they know they can actually make this. They know they can create the product. And if you're going to have a prototype by the end of October, you really need to have settled on your idea no later than the middle of October. Now, sometimes if you're working in a group and you have maybe the 5 people in a group and you have a couple of ideas and you're not sure which one you want to settle on, you can do a SWOT analysis on both of them, or you could do a piece of early market research on both of them. And the results of those 2 things will tell you which is going to be the better idea. But I think you have to give yourself a cut-off point. Otherwise, particularly if there's 4 or 5 of you in a team, you could be arguing back and forth about what's the best idea until December. And then you realize that your time for selling has come and gone and you've made no money because you don't have an actual product in front of you.
Yeah, wow. So now is the time for action. We're already in October. What is it?
Yeah.
October the 5th today. So you say the middle of the month. You have about 10 days, Pete.
Yeah.
Just 10 days.
I mean, I'm sure people have already had some thoughts about what they want to do. So now it's about kind of crystallizing those and saying, okay, this is what we're going to go with. This is what we're going to do in the next 10 days or so.
Sure. So in terms of, say settling on my idea, in terms of, let's say, other resources out there, would you encourage students to get family members and friends, siblings, and so on to get involved in their idea generation process or even decision making? So asking mums and dads what problems they have that can be solved, what different ideas they can think of, what they think of their idea, and so on. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think when you're starting a business, it's always good to get as many points of view as you can from people. So I think it's good to ask anybody, what kind of issues are you having, or are there any problems that you're aware of that maybe I'm not seeing? I remember a number of years ago, we had a young first year in Skerries Community College, and he came runner-up in the national final with a product called Comfort Crutch. And this was about how there was a product for the bar of a crutch, and it was developed with his granddad in mind, because this young man, Sean, had never been on crutches, but he could see that his grandfather was having problems. So he solved the problem that his granddad was having. And I think it's fine to go checking out, is there something that I'm missing? And I think it's also fine to do market research with your family. Like, this is what I'm thinking of doing. Do you think it's a good idea? But I think you need to have a bit of faith in your family and trust that they're going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
If there's no point in your mother or father or your favorite auntie telling you it's a great idea when it really isn't. So you need to say to them, look, I want to ask you, but I need you to be honest with me. Because I keep thinking of these guys on the X Factor, you know, when they arrive on stage and they open their mouth and it's very clear they have a note in their head. And they say, oh, my mother says I can sing, you know. So you need people to give you honest feedback.
And there's a great point. There's so many Irish mams or mums out there that will tell you you're brilliant and your idea is brilliant when it's brutal. So
and it's not the loving thing to do.
No.
The kind thing to do is to actually say, you can't sing, you know, don't go on there and make a show of yourself. So, or that business isn't going to work, you know. So the kind thing to do is to be honest, but sometimes it's hard to say that to your kid.
Sure, no, absolutely. So by all means, ask, get them involved, but make sure that the feedback that you're getting isn't misleading you in any way.
Yeah.
Serena, quite frankly, I could speak to you all night. You've been absolutely brilliant. So thank you so much for being with us. Before you go, I want to ask you for 3 tips just to leave us with for students watching tonight.
Okay. 3 tips: don't procrastinate, get going. I think it's really important to, you know, set up some kind of ability to communicate outside of school. So even if it's a WhatsApp group for your business, don't expect the work for this to be done in class. It's not going to be done in class. You need to be able to communicate with each other outside of school. So if you have a WhatsApp, you can throw messages back and forth and make sure that your things are getting done. I think the number 1 tip is going to be believe in what you're doing. Be passionate about it. Be enthusiastic about it. And the last tip would be do your market research. When the time comes, make sure you're talking to the right people who'll be honest with you as to whether or not this idea is going to work.
Well, 3 amazing tips. And my 4th tip, just before we go, is now's the time to settle on your ideas. As Serena rightfully said, we've got to settle on the ideas. We have time to develop it if we're going to excel in this competition. So be looking at the middle of the month, middle of October, to be settling on your idea. Serena, thank you so much for being with us tonight. Really, really appreciate it.
My pleasure, Greg. Best of luck to everybody.
I was doing the robot there, breaking up a bit, wasn't I? We're nearly at the end of today's show. Unbelievable. And it's been a mammoth one. But we do have something very, very important to do, don't we? Competition winners. Oh, this is the moment that all the teachers have been waiting for, the 10-inch tablet. Are you the winner of the 10-inch tablet? And I've been even learning how to play the drums on how to do this. We're going to get Caroline McHale to announce the winner. So we'll bring her in. Oh, there she is. Caroline.
Hi, Greg.
Let the cat out of the bag. Who has won our teachers' competition?
Before I say that, could I just say today is World Teachers' Day, and just to acknowledge all the work that the teachers do. It wouldn't happen unless we all had those teachers on board. So I know the students do great work and all the other organizations, but the teachers are superb. And even tonight on Twitter, I'm getting direct message from Luke's teacher saying how proud he is of Luke. So it's just amazing the work they do. So just to acknowledge them, I think it's really, really important. Well, tonight's winner is Louise Walsh from Ramsgrange Community School in Wexford. Congratulations, Louise.
Well done, Louise. Thanks for letting the cat out of the bag there, Caroline. That's brilliant. So well done. And I'll tell you in a moment what the next competition is going to be. Brilliant. I want to bring Luke in, because let's get Luke in here. Luke, you're back. Now we're going to announce the student winner. So let's get the drums for this one. So the student that wins a Fitbit is Luke. Over to you.
The student prize is Rory Healy from Tralee, County Kerry.
Rory, Well done, Rory. Fantastic stuff. So I did promise this. So our next competition, we're going to have another competition. So watch out on our Facebook page in the coming days. This teachers, it's going to be a Google mini nest. I kid you not. A Google mini nest. That's got nothing to do with birds, as far as I know. So that sounds cool. So that's going to be the prize for teachers. We also have for the students a Bluetooth set of headphones for our students. So look out on our Facebook page for our next competition. I promised to do this earlier and then I didn't do it. I wanted to give a shout out to loads of Kerry transition students. So they'd be delighted about Rory's victory there. Loads of people from the Green. Hello, people from the Green School in Kerry. So a big hello to you guys. So that brings us to the end of today's session. A big thank you to our fantastic guests. So we have a big thank you to Caroline, big thank you to Luke, obviously a big thank you to Serena.
Hi, Greg. How are you?
Good. Big thank you to Serena. Thank you, Serena. And obviously a big thank you to Margaret. So you're all absolutely amazing. If you missed some of today's broadcast, you can watch it on playback on our YouTube channel. You can watch it on playback on our Facebook page. Our next, as you'll see down below, our next webinar, number three, is going to be on market research, and it's on October the 15th at 7 p.m. So don't forget to join in then. In the meantime, if you have any questions or queries, you can use the chat function on our Facebook, on our website. You could send us a message on Facebook. You can contact your local enterprise or your local student enterprise coordinator, or you can drop us an email. So don't be afraid to ask us questions if you have it. So in the meantime, from me, Greg Fry, keep safe and keep innovating. All the best. Take care and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.